Hey guys, Ryan here, your trainer for today. I hope you're all doing well. So welcome to your Introduction to Blend training. Thank you guys all for taking time out of your day to attend this training. So why are we here? Why did we ask you guys to jump on board and attend this training today? Well, it's to improve the digital mortgage experience for our borrowers. So what does that mean? It means we want to be able to provide a universal borrower portal. We're officially in the 2020s now. Unlike Fergie, we don't want to be 2000 and late, right? So we're moving forward into the future. Part of that is making sure that our borrowers have an optimal experience when they're doing anything digitally online in regards to the mortgage application. So we want to provide them a one-stop shop. What does it mean to be a universal borrower portal? So you guys think to yourselves and let me know, how many of us are familiar with the borrowers going online to apply for a mortgage? Probably everybody, right? How many of us are used to going and logging into a software, going to a website to see that online application? I know everyone on the sales side is familiar with that. How many of us are used to receiving borrower documents? Sales or ops? We all receive borrower docs at some point, don't we? How many of us are used to sending the borrower's documentation, whether it's a pre-approval letter, a commitment letter after conditional approval, disclosure packages, initial, revised, and closing disclosures, one-off documents like an LOX or corrected 4506T. We're probably all used to sending the borrower's documents. And how many of us are used to account check? Probably not everyone on that one, but most of us, I bet, are familiar with account check, our online income and assets integration. So now we can think of all of these objectives. What's staying the same, and we'll always point out what's staying the same, is all of those different objectives. What's changing, and we'll always point out what's changing, is that now all of those objectives can be completed within one website, within one universal borrower portal. So with Blend, we're going to be able to receive borrower information and receive borrower documentation. We're going to be able to send borrower documentation, including the disclosures, all of the different disclosure packages. And we're going to have our asset, income, and tax return integration. So it's a one-stop shop for anything that our borrower needs in their digital experience. So that's why we asked for your sales and your ops to jump on board today, and we're going forward with rolling this out. So what are our objectives? Well, our first objective to build off that is to introduce Blend, explain what it is, what it looks like, how to use it. We're going to be talking about key process flows that we're going to do on a daily basis. So what are things that you're going to consistently do in your respective job roles within Blend? And also, we're going to provide steps to execute those key processes. We're going to give you initial setup guidance. So when you get your Blend activation links, some of us may have already gotten those. When we get those, how do we get up and running? And when you leave here today, you're going to have a level 100 understanding. Our goal for today is to make sure that you are comfortable and confident using Blend. So our goal today is to make sure you're comfortable and confident using Blend to give you a level 100 foundational understanding. So we're not going to show you every bell and whistle within Blend, right? So you guys, when you leave here today and you start using Blend, you're going to reinforce what you learned here today. You're going to learn a few new things by using it, and you're going to have questions. And so we're going to give you additional support resources. Where can you go to reinforce your knowledge, to build off your knowledge from a level 100 level to a level 200 level, and where can you go if you have any questions? We're going to show you that. So what's the agenda? Well, first we're going to talk about navigation, right? How we can log in our screen overview. And then we're going to introduce the Blend Workbook, our level 100 training resource that goes hand in hand with this presentation. And then we're going to talk about getting started. How do we get up and running with Blend? How do we activate our account? What's the loan team and how do we set that up? And what are credit preferences? Who selects those? How do we select those? You are going to know that by the end of this training. And then we're going to discuss activities, right? This is really the main course. We're going to talk about starting an application, how we can start an application, how a borrower can start an application, how we can use both Blend and Encompass, and how we can link one to the other. We're going to talk about what follow-ups are and how we can create those. And we're going to introduce a special kind of follow-ups, disclosures, and how we can leverage Blend to deliver disclosures to our borrower. We're also going to discuss some cool key features, say that 10 times quick. And we're going to go over some gotchas, things that can trip you up as you're using the software, but we'll let you know those so those gotchas don't get you. And then before we leave, as we said earlier, we're going to give you a level 100 understanding, and we're going to introduce additional support resources so you can reinforce what you learned here today, so you can build off your current understanding, and so that way you know where to go if you have any questions. Cool. Sound good? Awesome. So navigation, right? There's our compass to lead the way. So I guess a good place to start is how the heck do we get into Blend? Well, the steps to log into Blend are the same for both the borrower and the branch. So to log into Blend, we go to the same website, whether we're a borrower or a branch employee. To log into Blend, we go to the same website, whether we're a borrower or branch employee. So you guys tell me in the questions box, is that the same or different than what we're currently used to? You tell me. Is that the same or different than what we're used to, going to the same website? Yeah, I'm seeing your responses here, and you're right. That is different. So right now, the borrower goes to apply online in one website, and we see that application in a different website or in a different software. So now, we're going to go to the same website to log in, and Blend is going to recognize whether the person is a borrower or a branch employee. So it's going to read that email, and it's going to say, oh, this person has a Gmail account, or this person has a Yahoo account, or this person's real old school and they have an AOL account, and they're going to direct them to the Blend borrower portal. Or it's going to read the email. It's going to say, oh, this is an @myccmortgage.com email, and they used what they learned in Ryan's training to activate that email. Therefore, I'm going to direct them to the CCM branch portal. So borrowers will be directed to the Blend borrower portal. Branch employees will be directed to the Blend branch portal specific to CCM. Awesome. So from here on out, anything I show you guys throughout the course of today's training, I'm going to say it, I'm going to show you it, and then we'll have time to do it ourselves later. So I always utilize adult learning theory. That means say, show, do. That means when on our presentation, I will say and I will show you something, and then we'll have time to do it ourselves later. And that will free me up to be able to answer any questions or assist you if you need it. So you guys do not need to try to follow along with me, especially for us on laptops. You don't have to try to listen to me, look at my screen that I'm presenting with, close it, do something on your screen. Your attention would be divided in 3 different ways. So I'm going to show you how we can log in, and later on we're going to be able to do it as an activity. Sound good? Awesome. So whether we're a borrower or branch employee, we go to a website, we enter our email, we enter our password, and we click sign in. Pretty straightforward. So we go to a website. This is what it looks like. It even has our pretty CCM branding on there with the blue and the green colors. We put in an email, whether we're a borrower or a branch employee. We put in a password, and we hit sign in. Blend is going to know whether we're a borrower or a branch employee. So from there, we're going to have a fork in the road. For a borrower, we're going to be directed to the Blend borrower portal. From there, we'll see a landing page where the borrower can start a new app or access any current or previous application. So if your borrowers are doing multiple refis at one time, as I once had, and they're going to be able to see all those refis in there. If you guys did a great job closing somebody's loan 6 months ago and they come back, they'll see that closed loan that they previously did with you in there. And then we're going to see additional screens during a live demo. So we're actually going to go through and do one ourselves together. And we're going to see every screen that your borrowers are going to see. So you will know exactly what they experience. So this is what it looks like. So we just logged in as a borrower. And then we see any current or previous applications. And we can start a new application if we choose to. Awesome. So again, we're going to do a deep dive into their experience a little bit later on. What if we log in and we're a branch employee? Well, then we're directed to the Blend branch portal. The first screen that we see is a pipeline screen. What does that remind you of? Is there anywhere else where we log in and see a pipeline screen right away? What do you guys think? Yeah, an Encompass. And then within each loan, there's 5 screens. In every Blend loan, there's 5 screens. And we're going to give you a one-sentence explanation of each of these screens. So this is what it looks like when we log in as a branch employee with an @myccmortgage.com email that we activated utilizing what we're going to learn here today in training. We see a pipeline screen where we can access applications. There's a new loan button. Heads up, we're not going to be covering that today. So it is possible for a branch to start a new loan in Blend. That's why that button's there. But that's something that we're not going to be covering today. That's a level 200 understanding. If you have a question about that, you can contact me after training. But it's there, so I want to mention it so it doesn't confuse you guys. Normally we just log in and we would see our pipeline screen. And then we have 5 screens inside of every loan. So you guys are going to tell me a one-sentence explanation of each of these screens. So that way when I reference these later on, you'll already have context and understanding for what we're talking about. So the first screen we see from left to right is an application screen. So you guys tell me in the questions box, what is the purpose of the application screen? And no, it's not a trick question, pretty straightforward. You tell me, what's the purpose of the application screen? You tell me. Tell me in the questions box what you think the purpose of the application screen is. So let me know what you think it is. George, Jamie, Jason, Jean, Jen, Joe, John, Carmen and Catherine and Kathleen. I see you there. You guys let me know. What do you think the purpose of the application screen is? Katie, Lexi, Linda, Lori. I know you guys know. You let me know in the questions box. What do you think the purpose of the application screen is? Mark, Nancy, Nicole, Nina. What do you guys think the purpose of the application screen is? Awesome. I see all of your responses coming in here. Believe me, I'm reading everyone. And I think you're all right. Awesome. Yep, the application screen is where we can enter or update borrower information. Can we enter or update this information in Encompass? Yeah, of course we can. When this loan eventually goes to Encompass, we can absolutely enter or update borrower information here. But before it's in Encompass, we can edit it within this screen. Next up is the activity screen. So this activity screen, what do you think the purpose of this is? You tell me in the questions box. What do you think the purpose of the activity screen is for? You tell me. Let's see, Scott, Sean, Stella. Sonia, Tiffany, Troy. What do you guys think the purpose of the activity screen is for? You tell me. Yeah, the activity screen is a log of any action that's been completed within this Blend file, whether it's by us or whether it's by the branch. So if something happens in Blend, there's a record of it in this activity screen, whether we do it or the borrower does it. So it's an informational screen. It's a little counterintuitive because you don't actually do any activities in the activity screen. It just lists every activity that's occurred in the Blend loan file. So we can view the borrower and the branch activities within Blend. Everything that happens, there's a record of it here. Alrighty guys, next up is the follow-up screen, this 3rd out of 5 screen. So I'm going to let you know right now, if you're on the sales side or you're on the ops side, this is the most important screen for you. This is the screen where you are going to spend most of your time. So you guys tell me, look this screen over and you tell me in the questions box, what's the purpose of this screen? What's the purpose of this follow-up screen? You tell me in the questions box. You tell me. Awesome, thank you. I'm seeing your responses come in here. Awesome. And of course, my facilitation is to get us to logically deduce for ourselves what the purpose of each screen is. I also use it to take a sip of coffee. Just kidding. Well, kind of. Awesome. Great responses, guys. So the follow-up screen, most of us were able to point out, the follow-up screen inside of every Blend loan file is used to track everything we're asking the borrower to do. So a follow-up is anything we're asking the borrower to do. So if we're asking the borrower to upload something, that's follow-up. We're asking the borrower to review something like an appraisal or in some states a commitment letter. That's a follow-up. We're asking the borrower to sign something, whether it's a one-off document or a disclosure package. That's a follow-up. I'm going to say it again because it's really important. A follow-up is anything we're asking the borrower to do. Where do we manage the follow-ups? In the follow-up screen. Do we have the ability to add new follow-ups, to delete follow-ups, to send a follow-up back to the borrower and say, girlfriend, this is not what I asked for? Absolutely. So a follow-up is anything that we're asking the borrower to do. And some follow-ups we'll see will be automatic. We're going to talk about what triggers automatic follow-ups later on. And some follow-ups are manual, ones that we create ourselves. So we will do a deeper dive on that later. But for now, we can just have the understanding that there's 2 types of follow-ups, automatic and manual. And a follow-up is anything that we're asking the borrower to do. So let's see if we have any questions that came in. This is for pipeline only, right? Doesn't do pre-approval prospects. So great question. So who's going to create follow-up? Great question. If we're asking ourselves that question, what's the answer? I bet we can logically deduce it. As a salesperson working with a borrower who's shopping for a property and our loan status is still TBD, so it's still a prospect, still in pre-approval stage, will I request documents from the borrower? Yeah, of course I will. When it goes TBD to real deal, do I need documents from the borrower? Yeah, I do. And when it's with my processor and they get a conditional approval, they call it out as follow-ups and they receive those documents back? Are they going to be working with follow-ups? Yes. So if we think about this, we'll answer that question for ourselves, won't we? That a follow-up is anything we're asking the borrower to do. Do you in your job role ask the borrower to do something? Well, then you're going to create a follow-up, aren't you? So we can monitor the status of follow-ups here, and we can also create manual follow-ups. Okay, great. The next screen is the docs screen. So what are we going to use the docs screen for? You guys tell me in the questions box. You guys tell me, what is the purpose of the docs screen in the questions box? You tell me. You guys got it. Any document that passes through Blend, there's a copy of it in the doc screen. Why do they call it the doc screen instead of the document screen? I don't know. My theory is that they're like cutting edge tech people. They want to sound snazzy, so they just keep everything to one syllable, like Blend and doc. That's my theory. But I mean, they have all this space up here to write documents, but they choose to just call it the doc. That's cool, as long as we know that the doc screen is where we can see any documents that pass through Blend. Any documents that pass through Blend, we'll see within this screen. And then finally, the fifth screen in every Blend loan file is the COM screen. So you guys tell me in the questions box, what is the purpose of the COM screen? You tell me. What is the purpose of the COM screen? You got it. Any email that goes from Blend to the borrower, there's a copy of that email on the COM screen. So I'm going to say that again. Any email that goes from Blend to the borrower, there's a copy of it in the COM screen. And so what do we see? Do we see the subject line of that email? You bet we do. Do we see to whom it was sent? Like the borrower's email? You bet. Do we see anyone that was CC'd, like the LO? Absolutely. Do we see where it came from? Yep. It'll always come from no reply at crosscountry.mortgage.com. Do we see the date and the time that email was sent to the borrower? Yeah, I see it right over here, don't I? And do you guys think I can double click this and I'll see a copy of the email that went to the borrower? You bet. It'd be embarrassing if I said that on training and you couldn't. Awesome. So those are the 5 screens that are inside of every Blend loan file when we log into the Blend branch portal. So you guys tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable do we feel with the borrowers logging in and seeing the Blend borrower portal? We're going to do a deep dive on it later, but just seeing where they can start a new app or access a previous app, and us logging in and seeing the Blend branch portal, that pipeline screen, and the 5 screens in every Blend loan file. How do we feel about that on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay, cool. So it looks like we feel most of us feel pretty comfortable with that. That's good to know. So now, from here on out, you guys tell me, do you need to write everything I'm about to show you for the next 2 hours down? Do you need to write everything down? You tell me. Okay. Most of us are saying no. Do you guys need to memorize everything I'm about to say for the next 2 hours? Do you need to memorize it all? Yeah, most of us are saying no, right? So you don't need to memorize everything I'm about to show you because that will make your brain hurt. Yeah, Dan says, I hope not. And you don't need to write everything down because that'll make your hand hurt. You'll get carpal tunnel. So from here on out, everything that I show you for the rest of training is already codified for you in a Blend workbook. So every step that I show you, every visual image that we see is already codified for you, written down, documented in a training resource. Everything that we cover for the rest of training is already codified for you. Where can we find it? Where can we find those steps and their corresponding images? In the Blend workbook. That's why we're introducing it now. So how can we find the Blend workbook? Well, as we know from earlier, we use adult learning theory. So that means I'm going to say where you can find the Blend workbook. I'm going to show you where we can find the Blend workbook. and then we're going to do it as an activity. So you do not need to do this simultaneously as I'm showing and saying the steps and showing you on the screen, especially if you're on a laptop. You don't want to try to minimize, maximize, I'm going to say and show you the steps to find the Blend workbook, and then we're all going to do it as an activity afterward. Subsequent, not simultaneous. Sound good? And that way it'll free me up to be able to interact with you guys and respond to your questions and help you out if you need it. So again, sit back, pop some popcorn, and let's check out our screen and see where we can find the Blend workbook. So in our CCM homepage, right, our CCM employee community, we're going to search Blend training materials. When I search Blend training materials, this is the first thing that comes up. It's a Blend training materials website. Here we get fancy, we call it the Blend training materials knowledge article. So that's the first thing that comes up. So I open that up. And then very important, I want to save this Blend training materials knowledge article, this Blend training materials website, as a favorite. Some of us might call that saving it as a bookmark. So I'm going to repeat it because it's important. You're going to save this website as a favorite. Why are we saving it as a favorite? Because Blend is constantly updating. Therefore, our Blend workbook is constantly getting updated by a certain cute boy behind the scenes that's talking to you right now. So I'm constantly updating the Blend workbook every week or every other week. So you want to save the website as a favorite so you can go there every week or every other week and download a new version of it. So that way you don't get stuck with an old musky workbook. You can get the freshest, most fashionable, on fleek, fabulous workbook. This is what the website looks like, and any attachments, including a PDF of this PowerPoint presentation, are going to be listed there. But what we want to open up is the one that says Blend Workbook. And when we open that up, we'll have a chance to download it. And then we'll open, just like we download anything from the CCM community. I'm sure we've all downloaded things from the CCM community before. And then we'll be able to open it up and use it as an Excel document. So what did I say? I would say and show you the steps, and then we would do it as an activity. Well, let's now do it as an activity, right? Ryan wasn't worrying. So we're going to search Blend training materials. We're going to find that Blend training materials knowledge article. And then we're going to save it as a favorite, save it as a bookmark. We're going to click Blend Workbook, and we're going to download that Blend Workbook to our computer. So go ahead and complete these 6 actions. And when you're done, type done in the questions box. Awesome, awesome. Net knocked it out. Jason's done. Nina's done. Samantha's done. Danielle's done. If you guys have any questions or you get stuck, just let me know in the questions box. And if you're done, type done in the questions box. Catherine's done. Stella's done. Linda's done. Tiffany's done. Lexi, she's done. Cole's done. Joe, Richard, John, Troy, and Catherine are done. Awesome. And like we said, if you get stuck or you have any questions, you just let me know. Part of Adult Learning Theory means I'm available to assist you if you get stuck or if you have any questions. Okay, cool. So it looks like the majority of us are done. So that's good news, good news. And again, if you're still completing this, no worries. Just go ahead and knock it out. And if you have any questions, just let me know. So let's do a live demo. Let's see what this Blend workbook looks like. So we should all have this on our computers, shouldn't we? So this is what it looks like. Some of us may not have used an Excel workbook as a training resource before. Just no worries. We're going to unpack it for you. Make sure you're empowered to do so. So cool. So what am I seeing here? What is this? Well, the first thing that I see is right here. It says title. And within title, I see the name of this tab. Do we notice that? So it says title, blend, table of contents. Down here, I see table of contents. Okay, cool. The next thing that I see is summary. And what does the summary do? Well, it tells us how we use this particular tab. So this one says, use this page to navigate to other Blend documents. Well, that makes sense because the title of it is Table of Contents. And then I see these green sections here. I see number 1, getting started, number 2, starting an application, number 3, linking Blend and Encompass. And what do I notice? Do each of these sections within here correspond to the name of a tab down here? Oh, so there I have 1, getting started. Down here I have 1, getting started. Next I have 2, starting an application. Then I have 2, starting an application. Then I have 3, linking Blend and Encompass. 3, linking Blend and Encompass. Pretty cool. And then within each section, I have different topics. So I have activating Blend account, setting up loan teams, setting up credit preferences. Do you guys think I can click on one of these topics to navigate to it? Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be embarrassing if I said that in training and then it didn't work. So I could click on one of these topics and we'll notice that it takes me to that exact topic within this tab, within this section. And then I can scroll down and everything that I'm going to say and show you throughout the rest of training is already codified here. And if I want to go back to my table of contents, I can go up here and I can click Return to Table of Contents, and I go back to my table of contents. And then maybe I want to go to this section within, or this topic within this section. So I click that hyperlink, and then I'm brought now to a different tab, and I'm in that topic within this tab. Sound good? If I need any help, then I go to Request Support, and it will walk me through opening up a support ticket in regard to Blend. We all know how to do that as CCM employees. Might be helpful for newer people. And I can even click a hyperlink to open up that ticket directly with loan support. And if I want to return to my table of contents, I go right up there and do that. So you guys tell me, right? We just gave you the free tutorial of it. You tell me, what is your current comfort level utilizing this training resource, utilizing this Blend workbook? Now that we unpacked it for you, you tell me, how comfortable do you feel utilizing this Blend workbook as a training resource? Awesome. Cool. So it looks like we're all feeling pretty good about it. Awesome. So we introduced it now, so you don't have to memorize or write everything down that I'm about to say. And I'll reinforce that very frequently, that we can utilize our Blend workbook as a training resource. So let's talk about getting started, right? How do we get up and running with Blend? Well, we're going to need to activate our Blend account. Do you guys need to write all these steps down? Do you need to memorize all these steps? Boy, I sure hope not. Where can we find all of these steps? You tell me. Where can we find all these steps and all the images I'm about to show you? You got it, in our Blend workbook. Awesome. So this is what it looks like. Some of us may have an activation email already. Most of us will probably be getting it in the near future. Heads up, if you don't have an activation email within the next 48 hours, contact loan support and they will hook you up. So go to loan support, they'll hook you up and be able to take care of you. So here we are. We're able to log. We're going to get an email, our activation email. Probably not super helpful to search cross-country mortgage. It's easier to search activate your cross-country mortgage loan account. Within that email, we're going to see an activate account button. When we click it, then it's going to prompt us to make up a password for our CCM branch employee account. We're going to type it in once, we're going to type it in twice, and then we're going to hit continue. Then we're going to put in our CCM email, we're going to put in that password we just made up, and then we're going to click sign in. Normally, that's all we need to do. But since it's the first time we're using it, we're going to click agree, clear terms and conditions, and then we're going to put our phone number. And as CCM employees, we've all done this before, haven't we? Because we need to do it for Office 365. You put in a phone number, you get a text message or voice call, and then you put in the code that it sends you. And even if we're new, we've probably done this with our bank account before. And so you're going to put in the code that it sends you, and then you're going to hit verify. I highly, highly recommend that you check mark remember me for 30 days. That way you only have to put the phone code in once instead of putting it in every time you log into Blend. So you have to put it in once every 30 days, 12 times a year, instead of putting it in every time you log into Blend. We had a great question come in that says, can we use one phone for the team? Well, you guys can determine for yourself which phone number to use. But just a heads up, if someone's using a phone and then they get the phone code and someone else is trying to log in, how are they going to see the code? So I would recommend everyone utilizing, when they're logging in with their personal Blend credentials, using their personal phone number. And then once we log in, we're going to see the pipeline screen. And we already know what that is because we went over it earlier. That's why we went over it earlier. Cool. So if we have that, we could do that as an activity right now. I think most of us probably are going to be getting those in the next 48 hours. If you don't get it in the next 48 hours, then you're going to want to reach out to loan support and let them know, hey, hook me up with a Blend activation email, and they'll be able to take care of you. Awesome. So before we move on, just another topic, another piece about the activation. Once you activate your email, and I'll say this again later too, I'm going to repeat it a few times because it's important. Once you activate your account, so you're going to get an activation email and activate your account. If you forget, you can see the steps in the Blend workbook. Get your activation email, activate your account. Within 48 hours of you activating your account, marketing is going to see that you activated your account and update your Apply Now button to point to Blend. I'm going to say that again. Once you activate your account, within 1 to 2 business days, marketing is going to update your Apply Now button to point to Blend as opposed to Salesforce or Ellie Mae Web Center. Any questions about that? Nope? Okay, cool. If you think of any, you let me know. So a loan team. So you guys tell me, what do you think a loan team is? What is a loan team? You tell me in the question box. What's a loan team? You tell me. What do we think? Jean, Jason, Jamie, George, Ellen, Don, Diane, Danielle, Catherine, Annette, Andrea, Adam. What do you guys think a loan team is? Awesome. Great responses, guys. So a loan team is anyone who needs access to a Blend file before, bold, italicized, they are listed as file contacts in Encompass. So that's a little, it's nuanced, we'll say. So a loan team is anyone who needs access to the loan file before it's in Encompass. So who might that be? As an LO, I'm assigning people to my loan team. So if I have an assistant that needs access to the file before it's in Encompass, I'm adding that assistant to my loan team. If I'm LO and my branch manager needs access to the file before it's in Encompass, I'm adding my branch manager to my loan team. So those aren't the only people that work on the file, are they? Who else works on the file? Processors, openers, whoever you might have in your branch. So what about other roles that need to access the blend file? Other roles have access to the blend file after bold italicized. They are assigned as file contacts in Encompass. So who's that? Loan opener 2, loan processor 2. People in those roles, when they get assigned in file contacts, it will add them to the blend file. So the only people you need to add in to the loan team as an LO are people who need access to it before Encompass. So how do we set up a loan team? Well, these are the instructions to do so. Do you need to write these down or memorize those? No way. We know that they're in the Blend workbook along with these visuals. So what does it look like? So we go to Your Settings, we go to Account, and then we go to Loan Team. Within here, we just have to type the name of the person we want to add. We don't even need to put their email. We just need to put their name. And then we'll add them to our loan team. Again, who's doing this? The LO. Who are they adding? People who need access to the Blend file before it's an Encompass, i.e. their assistants and branch managers. And then if we're assistant or a branch manager and we want to see what LOs have added us to their loan team, we can see that right here, can't we? And if I'm a branch manager, do I want every loan notification for every loan, for every loan officer? No way, right? We'd be buried in notifications. So as a branch manager or anyone else that doesn't want every notification, I could come here and I could check mark skip notifications for loans I don't originate. And then I only receive notifications when I'm listed as the LO. So question, do we need to do this for every file or do we do this once? You guys tell me, what do you think? Do we need to do this for every file or do we do this once? We're going to do this at the top, right? And then it's going to apply for any loans that come in after we set this up. You can always go in and add and remove people from an individual Blend file, but if you add people to your loan team, like your assistant and branch manager, that need access to it before Encompass, and then your processors, your ops staff get added in Encompass, and then are simultaneously added in Blend, you'll be set. Sound good? Any other questions about that? Good question. So we had another question come in. What if there are a couple processors that are specific to a loan? Well, just ask yourself, are they in one of these two roles? Do they fill these roles? If they're added to these roles in file contacts, then they're added to Blend. Sound good? And if they're not in one of those roles, and you still need access to the Blend loan file, especially prior to Encompass, then you would be added to the loan team. Awesome. Any other questions about your loan team before we move on? No? Okay, cool. So what about setting up credit preferences? What is a credit preference? What would you guess by the name of it? I don't expect you to know. You guys let me know. What do you think a credit preference is? Great. Great answers. So a credit preference, when we're talking about Blend, is the LO deciding whether or not to have a credit report automatically pulled or not. Let me say that again because that's important. A credit preference is the LO deciding whether or not to have a credit report automatically pulled when the borrower submits an application. So in this scenario where a borrower submits an application online, not just starts, but submits an application, Does the LO want that person's credit report to be automatically pulled or not? The LO decides that. The LO decides whether or not a credit report will be automatically pulled or not. If the borrower submits an application, we're going to have their credit authorization. We're going to see that a little bit later on during the borrower's experience. So if a borrower submits, then we have their credit authorization. So what are we doing with that authorization? Are we going to pull their report automatically or not? The LO has that choice. Joe, does that answer your question? Awesome. So how do we set up our credit preferences? Well, we go into Blend, we go into Settings, we go to Account, and then instead of going to Loan Team, we go to Credit. If we want it to be automatically pulled, we check mark the box. If we don't, we leave it uncheckmarked. Pretty straightforward. And then we'd hit Save Changes. So again, this is only applicable in the scenario where a borrower submits. So let me reinforce this. If the borrower submits an application, they are consenting to have their credit pulled. They are providing their credit authorization. What are you doing with that authorization? Are you automatically pulling a report or not? If the borrower submits the app, they provide their consent. That's when they get the option to choose to have it pulled or not, or to have their credit authorization provided or not. And you choose whether or not it's pulled. Alrighty. If we don't get their credit authorization at that point in time, are we still going to get it verbally? Yep. And are we still going to be able to pull it in Encompass? Yep. This is just one option that you have as an LO. To have it automatically pulled when the borrower submits, because when they submit, they're giving you the authority to do so. They're saying, yes, pull credit when they submit. When you pull credit is a different question, and that's what you're answering when you decide your credit preference. Okay, cool. Heads up on your credit preferences. What report is going to be pulled? It's going to be a CBC credit report. I think that's the one that the vast majority of our company uses. So if you want a CBC credit report pulled, then you could check mark that box. If you don't want it pulled, leave it uncheckmarked. If you use some other provider than CBC, don't check mark that box. And we know we can always, whether we use CBC or not, decide to pull it later and Encompass instead. Sound good? And it's the exact same report that you see in Encompass. The exact same tri-merge credit report that you see in Encompass. Yep. Awesome. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how do we feel about activating our account? As an LO, setting up our loan team for anyone who needs access to the file before it's in Encompass. And as an LO, deciding whether or not we use the borrower's authorization to pull an automatic credit report. Cool. Looks like we're feeling pretty good. And again, you don't need to memorize that. Hopefully you didn't write it down. It's already written for you in your Blend workbook. Okay, cool. Let's talk about activities, including starting an application, creating follow-ups, and setting disclosures. So you guys tell me in the questions box, what is this? What's going on up here? What's happening? What is this? You tell me, what is this? What is going on your screen right now? What are all these boxes and arrows? You tell me. Yeah, you guys got it. This is a process map specific to Blend. Is there a copy of this in your Blend workbook? You bet. I wouldn't say that if there wasn't. And so now we know at CCM there are 4 ways where an application can be initiated. So there's scenario A, B, C, and D. These are all the ways files can start here at CCM. What are the things in blue? What are the things in blue? Yeah, things in blue is anything the borrower is doing, so we can logically deduce the things in green, probably anything that we're doing. And so within here, we see that there's 1 way a borrower can initiate an application and 3 ways that we as branch employees can initiate an application. So the way the borrower can start an application is directly in Blend. So a borrower would click an Apply Now button, and as we said earlier, your Apply Now button will be updated within 2 business days after you activate your account. The borrower can click that Apply Now button. It will direct them to your Blend online application, which you list as the LO, and they can apply online. So whether they click that Apply Now button in your email signature or on your CCM web page, either way, they can click that Apply Now button and apply online. That's scenario A. The borrower starts an application in Blend by clicking your Apply Now button. Scenario B is us starting an application in Blend. As we said earlier, we're not going to be doing a deep dive on that. If you want to know more about that, contact me after training. We'll do a deep dive. Scenario C is us starting the application in Encompass. Well, we're a salesperson on the line. We know that's familiar to us, isn't it? The branch starting an application in Encompass. And then how do we, if we started Encompass, can we still use Blend? Well, if this process map is accurate, yes, we can. And scenario D is the branch starting it in LO Connect. Some of us may use that, some of us may not. If we start in LO Connect, we can then go into Encompass and link it to Blend. We're not going to be doing a deep dive on scenario D, starting it in LO Connect. That's its own training with its own workbook. So we're going to focus on scenario A, the borrower starting it in Blend, and scenario C, us starting it in Encompass and linking it to Blend. So we can tell from this process map whether the borrower starts it or whether we start it. Whether it's started in Blend and linked to Encompass or started in Encompass and linked to Blend, either way, it's a 2-way street. Kind of like a 4-way highway almost, right? So it can start in Encompass, it can start in Blend, it can start by the borrower, it can start by us. Either way, we'll be able to utilize both Blend and Encompass. 2-way street. Cool. So question, when borrowers apply online, do they always submit their application? When your borrowers apply online, does every person that starts an application eventually submit the application? You tell me. No, unfortunately not. It'd be nice if they did so, but they don't, do they? So all you need to know for now is if a borrower starts an application but they don't submit, there's an extra step for us as a branch. If the borrower starts an application and they do submit, we can bypass that extra step. That's all we need to know for now. But either way, if they start an application, they don't have to submit for us to access that application. We'll talk about that more later too. So how is a borrower going to start an application? Let's do that deep dive in scenario A. Well, they're going to get a link to Blend, meaning you're going to direct them to click your Apply Now button in your CCM email signature or on your CCM web page. They're going to create a Blend account. They're going to enter their information, and they're going to enter their documentation. So what's staying the same? A borrower is applying online, putting in info, and then uploading supporting documentation. What's changing is that now that's occurring in Blend. And because that's now occurring in Blend, the borrower is going to be asked for automatic follow-ups. So what are follow-ups? We talked about that earlier. Anything we're asking the borrower to do. What are automatic follow-ups? Things that the borrower is automatically asked to do based off their data entry during the application phase. So let's unpack that. If I'm a borrower and I'm applying online, and I say I have a salary, what are some automatic follow-ups I can be expected to be asked for? What are some documents that I expect to be automatic follow-ups? If I say I'm a salaried employee, you tell me. Yep, pay stubs, W-2s. If I say I'm salaried during my application phase, then during my documentation phase, I can be expected, after I submit the app, I can expect Blend to ask me for pay stubs and W-2s. What if I say I have a rental property? I own a rental property. What can I expect as an automatic follow-up? As I'm filling out the application in Blend as a borrower, when I hit submit, and then I'm brought from the application phase to the documentation phase, what can I expect Blend to ask me as an automatic follow-up? Rental agreement, mortgage statement, HOI info. Great job. Awesome. So let's go ahead and do this together ourselves, and then we'll go on a break. So I'm going to go to Blend, and so here I am. I'm not going to log in with my ccmortgage.com email. I'm going to log in with my Gmail. So I'm going to log in as a borrower. So I'm going to log in as a borrower. And I'm going to be directed to the Blend Borrower Portal because I'm using my Gmail. So what did we say in the Blend Borrower Portal? We see any current or previous applications. Well, as you can see, I'm quite the landowner. Or I can start a new application. I'm going to hit Start a New App. And Jen, your question will be answered in just a second. So I start a new app, and then what do I see here? Who is this? Who's this person? Who would this person be in your scenario? Who's this person with this NMLS right here? Yep. So if I click Apply Now at an LO's email signature or an LO's web page, then that LO is listed as the default LO when I go to apply online. I don't need to look for them. I don't need to select their name. So what does that tell us? Always direct your borrowers to click Apply Now in your LO email signature or your LO web page. Don't just have them go to app.crosscountrymortgage.com because then they're going to be asked to pick your name, and if they fail to do so, it's going to go to the corporate branch. So always have them click Apply Now in your LO email signature or your LO web page. And then they're just going to see your name. They won't need to select anyone. So make it easy for your borrowers. Make it easy for yourself. Don't create any problems for yourself. And if you forget, I'm going to remind you that I said this on training. So then what do I see over here? I see different sections. And then I see over here at Cross Country Mortgage. And then across the top, I see Home Task, Documents, and I see my borrower email. Okay, cool. What do I see down here at the bottom? This little questions box. Oh, I see my LO's info. Cool. If the LO added people to their loan team, I would see those people here too. So I'm going to hit Continue, and this asks me, cool, are you purchasing or refining? So whether I purchase or I refi, you'll notice throughout our demonstration here, I will never put in a subject property address. The borrower will never put in a subject property address in Blend, and as branch employees, we will never put in a subject property address in Blend. What does that tell me? If no one, borrower or branch employee, can put in a subject property address in Blend, what can we logically deduce in regard to RESPA? That's a hint. Exactly. Whether it's purchase or refi, whether it's borrower or branch employee putting in data, no one can enter a subject property address. Therefore, we can never trigger RESPA in Blend. And as we can figure out, that's a good thing, right? You'll always trigger it in Encompass. So for our example today, I'm going to put in I'm purchasing a new property, and then I'm going to put in some test borrower info. So I'm John, homeowner. I'm going to put in a phone number. I'm going to put in my marital status, always single, Khalil Ryan. And then I'm going to put in my veteran status. What do I notice about the fields in Blend? Are they static or are they dynamic? Are they static and it's just always the same fields, or are they dynamic and they respond to the borrower's data entry? You guys tell me, static or dynamic? What do you think? Yeah, as I can see here, they're dynamic. So Blend responds to the borrower data entry just like you would respond to the borrower's data entry. So Blend will tell you that they're trying to recreate the experience you have with the borrower over the phone. They're trying to recreate that digitally so you can leverage Blend to scale your business. That's why it responds to the borrower's data entry, because it's dynamic, just like you would if you were asking this question over the phone. And what do I notice about this address? If I start typing it in, does it start auto-populating, just like it would for Google? You bet. So maybe I live in Orlando, Florida. It sounds nice and warm right now. And just like if you would ask the borrower, is that your mailing address? If they said yes, you would move on. If they said no, you would uncheck mark that and type in a mailing address, wouldn't you? And then what is this? This is one of the most important things from training. If you remember one thing from training, hopefully you remember more than one thing, but remember one thing, I want you to remember this. What is this? You tell me in the questions box. What is this checkbox right here? You tell me. Yep, you got it. E-consent. E-consent. Does this e-consent last for the whole life of the loan? You bet. So, am I going into the Encompass e-folder and setting out e-consent? Nope, I don't need to. I have e-consent right here. Do you want to know it gets even better? I'm putting my e-consent right here because this is a second, third, fourth, fifth, 20th, 30th, 50th loan app. If this was my initial loan application, I would provide e-consent even before I get to this screen. If this was my initial loan application, I would provide e-consent when I create my account. So for most of us, our borrowers are just applying for one loan, right? So and it's their first loan with us. Not for everybody, of course, and then they would provide e-consent right here. But when your borrowers create their Blend account, they provide e-consent for that initial transaction. And if it's a second, third, fourth, or 50th loan, then they provide it right here at the top, right in this first section. Any questions about that? Awesome. Okay, cool. So if I was applying with an additional applicant, I could say yes. And I'd put in that person's name, email, etc. And it would shoot them a Blend invite. And if I said I could fill out that person's info because, for example, they might be a spouse, then Blend would let me fill out information for them and for myself. And the person would still get a Blend invite to their email. If I said I was applying with another applicant and it was a business partner instead of a partner, well, then it would still shoot them a Blend invite, just like it would for my spouse. But I would fill out my info, they would fill out info, and we'd be different 1003s in Blend, same loan file, different 1003s, and therefore different 1003s, but same loan file in Encompass. Sound good? Let's see if we have any questions. So we won't have to send e-consent request on Encompass. Correct. If you're starting a file on Encompass, I'm going to show you how you can get e-consent, but it's not, once you're on Blend, you never go into e-folder e-consent anymore. Correct. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to say I'm a single person, so just flying by my little old lonesome. And what do I see here? I see a recap. So every section will end with a recap. And every section will start with a rundown. We're going to see that throughout the rest of the section. So it starts by telling us what we're about to do and ends with telling us what we just did. So I'd hit start this section, and now I said I was purchasing a property. So what kind of property am I purchasing? I would just put in that information. Good old DuPage, Illinois, right? Notice how I'm putting in my purchase price, down payment, it tells me the percentage, it tells me the loan amount. And again, these fields are dynamic. So it responds to my data entry just like you would over the phone. Only you can do one phone app at a time. You can do infinite numbers of Blend apps at a time, can't you? And it says, cool, how much can I afford? What's considered a gift? What are these? What are these questions in green? Yeah, these are borrower FAQs. And what's the point with having an FAQ if you're not going to have the answer, right? So just like borrowers might frequently ask you questions and you know what to say, these built-in borrower FAQs for Blend also have corresponding answers. So they build in borrower FAQs with the answers into here. Sound good? And then am I using a real estate agent or not? If I said yes, I could fill out that info. And then what's my social? I'm just going to put in like a fake borrower one. And again, I see my borrower FAQ along with the corresponding answers. And then I see a recap. And then I'm going to hit continue, and I'll see a rundown for the next section. So before we move on, you guys tell me in the questions box, have I clicked the Save button? Have I clicked the Save button? Nope. So what can I logically deduce from that if I'm not clicking Save? I can still go back here in any of these sections and change data. So what can I logically deduce if I'm not clicking Save all the time? Yep, you got it. It's autosave. Autosave means three things. Number one, I'm not clicking a Save button every 2 seconds. Number two, as a borrower, could I just close out of here completely? I have to run and pick up the kids from soccer, or I just don't want to do an online application anymore, so I want to call my LO, or anything else. Can I just close out of here and move on? Yeah, of course I can, because I have autosave. So I can always close out of here and come back to it as a borrower. That's the second thing autosave means. The third thing autosave means is as an LO. If my borrower does not submit, can I still come in here and see the information they did fill out? You bet. So autosave means I don't have to click a save button. Autosave means I can close out and come back as a borrower. And autosave means I can close out, never come back as a borrower, but my LO can still access my application, even though I didn't submit it. Is that the same or different than our current online web portals? You let me know. Same or different in the questions box. Is that the same or different? Yeah, that's different. Right now, we can only see the application if the borrower actually submits. Here, so long as the borrower starts an app, we can see the app, even if they never submit. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to go into Assets, and I see all of my different little asset options. Blend will tell you there's over 15,000 depositories. That's what they told me a couple years ago. So there's probably like 20,000 now. So you guys tell me in the questions box, what is the name of a real-life depository you want me to check out in here? The name of a real-life depository you want me to check out here. You tell me in the questions box. You First Federal Credit Union, Fidelity, we see that's in there. Buyer Credit Union. Oh, there it is, Buyer Federal Credit Union. Let's see, Rockland. It's fantastic, right? There it is, Rockland Trust. Merrill Lynch, there it is. So we can see a lot of different ones in there. So I'm just going to select one at random. I'm just going to select Chase. What is this? It's asking me to put in my credentials for my bank account as a borrower. What does that remind us of? You tell me. What does that remind us of? Yeah, it reminds us of account check, doesn't it? So we can pull automated out asset statements. So it's no longer account check. We can see it's powered by Blend. But it works exactly the same way account check works, and we can use it for exactly the same investors as we can use with account check. So it works the same way, and it works for the same investors. I would put in my username and password. I would sign in, and I could pull an automated asset statements with a 60-day transaction history. And if I decided as a borrower I don't want to do that, well, I could just go right down here and say, hey, I don't want to link this account. And then I would just say the type of bank account I have. I could add another, and then maybe it's a savings account, and I could add that in. And if I would have added another depository, I could. So when we said that Blend was a one-stop shop for your borrower, that includes account check, specifically includes the account check equivalent to Blend, right? Blend will provide its own version of account check. That's what we need. Cool. And then we're going to do income. So we'll do a couple types of income. What kind of income types do you guys want to see? You tell me. What kind of income types do you want to see? Okay, cool. We have a couple different options that came in. So I'm going to do, first I'm going to do employment, right? Was probably what most of us have for most of our borrowers. So I'm just filling out my employment info. Maybe my manager at Target. I've had in the profession 10 years. There we go. And I'm going to select my pay type. Notice if I select salary, it's going to ask me to enter my annual salary. If I say hourly, it's going to ask me to enter my hourly rate. So maybe I'm doing really well at Target. And then notice I also have overtime bonus and commission. I'm going to hit add income. If I want to add more income, I could. And maybe I want to do rental income. So I just say what type of property it is. Maybe it's a condo. Where's our condo that we're renting out at? Ooh, LA. There we go. Love LA. And my property value, my rent, probably like really high in LA, right? Ooh, not that high. And then I'm going to put in my mortgages and how much those are. If I have any HOA dues, I would put those in here too. And hit add income. Maybe I have self-employment income. So I go into self-employment and I select the type of business. Maybe it's an S Corp and it's Dan's Donuts. Where's Dan's Donuts at? Maybe New Baltimore, Michigan, Metropolis. And I put in my information there. Why is it asking me for my percentage of ownership? If I put in 25% of ownership or greater, what should it ask me for? Business tax return. And maybe I've been doing this for 5 years and doing pretty well with Dan's Donuts too. Cool, sound good? And then I see all my different income sources, and then I move on. Now it's asking me for my REO. Oh, it remembers this. It already added this in because it knows that I have rental income. So it already added it into my real estate owned section, my property section, so that way it populates in the VOM screen. Maybe I have another property. Maybe it's a townhome. And where's my townhome at? In Phoenix. Okay, cool. Put in my property value. Do we notice how it won't tell you what the hard stops are until after you try to move on without it? That's intentional because Blend noticed that if you just tell people what the hard stops are, they'll only do the parts that have a red asterisk. So it doesn't show the red asterisk until you try to move on without it. That's part of their mortgage intelligence, as they would call it. And notice how it's asking questions in a certain order. It asked me for my current address, but did it ask me for the number of years there? Not yet. Did it ask me for my number of dependents? Not yet. Did it ask me for my number of years in school? Not yet. The way Blend orders their questions is strategic, so they get the most amount of information for the most amount of borrowers. Again, it's what they call their mortgage intelligence. From all of their trials and clinical research, it's how they can figure out they can maximize the amount of information, especially the amount of relevant credit qualifying information to be delivered to your branch. So cool, so I see my declarations here. I would just toggle depending on what my answer is. Here's how my citizenship declaration is asked. And again, I see a recap and then a rundown about what I'm about to do in the next section. Any questions about this so far? No? Feeling good? And now it's going to ask me those additional questions. So it says, cool, you said this was your current address. How long have you lived there? If I said I lived there for less than 2 years, then it would ask me for anywhere else where I lived in the last 2 years, get a 2-year history. And then we said I own property, so we know I do. And then I would ask me for additional employment. If I worked anywhere else in the past 2 years, I could enter it there. And then it'll ask me how many years of school, so it'll ask me what level as opposed to a number. So I'm going to say I have my bachelor's degree from Purdue, boiler up. Any other Boilermakers on the line? Let me know. And then it's asking me for my number of dependents. And believe me, this is for demonstration purposes only. I have a plant I can barely keep alive, so this would not work. But for your demonstration, we'll say I have 2 dependents and I put in their ages. And then I see a recap again. And now I see all a recap after every section. Now I see a recap of the whole loan. Could I still click out of here and come back to it later? Yes. Could I still click out of here, never come back, and have my LO come back in here and see all this info? Yes. Until I submit this app, I can always come back to it. My LO can always access it. So I see a recap of everything, and now I get ready and I see the submit button. What is it asking me up here? What is it asking me? You tell me. What's it asking me up here? What is this verbiage referencing? Yep, you got it. So I said earlier that the borrowers provide their credit authorization when they submit. This is what I'm talking about. If your borrowers click submit, they provide their credit authorization. If they don't want to provide their credit authorization, then they wouldn't click submit. Pretty black and white. Then a second separate question is asked. With that credit authorization, in the scenario where a borrower clicks submit, does the LO want to pull an automatic report or not? Because if they click submit, they have that authorization. Do they want it to be pulled automatically when the borrower hits submit, or do they want to wait and pull an Encompass later? The LO has that choice. But no matter what the LO chooses to do, have it automatically pulled or pull it later in Encompass, either way, if your borrowers click submit, then we have their authorization. Let's see if we have any questions about that. We had a question. that came in. If they don't submit, does the LO or branch get an alert that the app has started? So we know, because of autosave, that we can always access this app. Don't we? We know that we can always access this app. The borrower can come back, and we can access the app and see all their info. We know that already, right? We've said that several times. So with that knowledge, let's think about this. Does the LO get a loan notification, the notification that the borrower started the loan? Yes, to answer your question, right, to build off that understanding. Does the LO get a loan notification when the borrower submits the loan? Yes. So the LO gets notified when the borrower starts the loan and when they submit a loan. Is that the same or different than how it is now? That's different, isn't it? Right now you only get notified when they submit. But now we get notified when they start the app and when they submit. We can access the application at any point in time. Sound good? Any other questions about that? So I'm going to click Submit and provide my credit authorization. And now I'm done with the application phase. I'm going to say that again. I'm done with the application phase. Now I'm in the Documents phase. And I see my automatic follow-up. So I'm going to go up here to Task, and I see my automatic follow-up. Why is it asking me for account statements? Because I didn't link my account, so I still need to upload them. And I need to upload them here. Why is it asking me for pay stubs and W-2s? Because I said I was salaried. And so I could click here, I could hit Start, and I could even connect it through my employer as well. So pay stubs and W-2s because I was salaried, tax returns, probably for a few different reasons, right? I have Schedule E Part 1 for my rental income. I have Schedule E Part 2 for my self-employment business as an S-Corp. And then it's asking me to upload my tax return. Mortgage statement, I said that I own these two properties, so it's asking, and I had mortgages on them, so it's asking me that. Homeowners insurance information, those are my two REOs. One's a rental, one's a second home. Rental agreement, well, that's for the property I said was a rental property. Business tax returns. Why is it asking me for business tax returns? Because I said I own 25% or more in a business. And I said the business was an S-Corp, so it's smart enough to know to ask me for an 1120-S as opposed to a 1065. Any questions? Let's see, for tax returns, normally have to sign and date. So when you get your tax returns from a borrower, hopefully they've signed and dated them already. If they don't, then you can set up a follow-up to have them sign and date it. We'll see that later on. Okay, cool. So this is what I would do in the document phase. And as a branch employee, where could I go to add, remove, or modify one of these follow-ups? I would go to my follow-up screen, and I would see those there. So cool. So just a couple of reminders, and then we're going to go on a break. So these are the steps for your borrowers to initiate the application. They get a link to Blend. Remember to use the Apply Now link in your LO email signature or your LO web page. They create a Blend account. When they do so, they provide e-consent for their initial app. They enter info like we just did, and then they can upload documentations like we just saw we had the chance to. So let's deepen our understanding. If your borrower does not submit, so they don't click that submit button that we saw, well then as a branch we need to manually push this loan into Encompass. It's literally 2 clicks. We'll show you. And if your borrowers do submit, well then this loan is going to automatically go into Encompass. So we'll have a Blend file, we'll automatically have an Encompass loan file. We won't need to push it into Encompass. We can just skip that step. And I'll show you how to do that. And a reminder, if a borrower creates a Blend account, they've provided e-consent for that initial transaction. For any subsequent ones, it's on the very first section. And if a borrower submits, they've provided credit authorization. So can we imagine a scenario where a borrower clicks to the Apply Now, maybe Realtor directed them to your website. They click Apply Now. They create their account and therefore provide their e-consent. They enter their info, including linking their asset statements, and therefore we have automated asset statements in their info. They hit submit, therefore we have their credit authorization, and then they see their automatic follow-up and start uploading docs. So we could come in the next morning and see their e-consent, their credit auth, a good head start on their information, a good head start on their documentation, including their automated asset statement. And maybe if we set it up to pull credit, we'd have that too. Before we even know the borrower's name, we can walk in the morning and see that. I know there's people who already have. Pretty cool, right? So we mentioned that we're not going to do a deep dive on scenario B, which is a branch starting application in Blend, but we are going to talk about what happens when your borrower starts but does not submit an application. When your borrower starts but does not submit an application, can you still see that application? Yes. Do you still get an email notification? They started it? You bet. You just don't get that second email saying they submitted it. So how do we move an application from Blend to Encompass if the borrower doesn't hit submit? Well, it's literally 2 buttons. Sometimes I say literally, and I don't mean literally. I mean like literally. It's literally 2 buttons. So what do? We go into the Blend loan file the borrower has not hit submit on. We click the Blend cloud icon. Someone in one of my trainings once called it the bloud. So we click the little bloud. And it says, okay, are you sure you want to export? And we'll say, yeah, I'm sure I want to export. We'll export this sucker. And then if you ever go above it again, it'll say that it's added to the pipeline, so you can't accidentally do it twice. It'll prevent you from mistakenly doing it twice. You'll always be able to see the status of it there. So it's literally just 2 button clicks. And then that will push it into Encompass. So the loan file is in Encompass when 1, the borrower what? Hit what? Submit. You got it. Or when we export. So what does that look like? Well, I'm going to log out of my Blend borrower portal. I'm going to log into my Blend Pretend LO account. It's going to let me. Come on, sister. And then I would see all of my applications that I have here as an LO. Application completed means it's already pushed to Encompass, meaning the borrower already hit submit or I already exported it. Application in progress would mean that it's ready to get exported. So I would see these here. I would hover above this plus symbol. And if I needed anything still, I could put that in. And then I'd be able to export it. So I'd go above here. I'd hit export. I'd hit the Blend Cloud button, and then I'd hit export. So cool. Any questions about the borrower's experience? Here I go. I hit export, and then I hit export. Sound good? Awesome. So once it's in Encompass, because the borrower hit submit, notice borrower started and hit submit, or borrower started, did not submit, so then I exported it. Either way, it's in Encompass. How do I see it in Encompass? Well, I log into Encompass and I open the app. Do you need to create a ghost Encompass application and try to merge it with Blend? No, that's a gotcha. Don't let that get you. Blend will create the Encompass application for you when the borrower submits or when we export. So we just log into Encompass and we open the file. No loan mailbox, no creating some, empty ghost application. If the borrower hits submit or we export, we see that application in Encompass. Sound good? Awesome. And then the next piece is importing documentation. So you guys tell me, do documents automatically come over when the borrower hits submit or when we hit export? We know information automatically comes over. Do documents automatically come over? Yes or no? You tell me. Cool, we're seeing a mix of answers here. It's always interesting. So I'll let you guys know, documents do not automatically come over. Documents do not automatically come over. Why do documents not automatically come over? What do you think? Does your borrower ever upload something that you don't want in Encompass? Probably. So the Encompass user has the power to decide what documents come over from Blend into Encompass. The Encompass user, the LO, the assistant, the processor, who's ever at Encompass decides, I want these documents to come over for Blend, or I want those documents to just chill out in Blend. We don't need them in Encompass. So we decide what documents come from Blend into Encompass. Where can we see the documents in Blend? Which of those 5 screens can we see to review prior to importing them into Encompass? Diane, this will answer your question. What screen in Blend can we see the documents to determine if we want to import those into Encompass? You got it, in the doc screen. And then we decide what comes into Encompass and what just chills out in Blend. So that's intentional on Blend's part. All the information comes over. None of the documents, we choose which documents come over. We are in control of that. So what are the steps to move it? Do you need to write these down? Do you need to memorize these? No way. You just know that everything we're saying and showing you is in the Blend workbook, and we're going it over it the first time together. So we log into Encompass. We go to the E folder. That's all familiar to us, isn't it? But what's new is that now in the E folder, there's going to be a Blend icon because this loan is linked to Blend. We click the Blend icon and we check mark the documents we would like to import. We don't want it imported, we don't check mark it. We hit Import Attachments, and it says, cool, they've downloaded. Do you want to go to File Manager and check them out? And we can see them in File Manager. If we have a barcode, we can still use that. Sound good? And Nina, you have a great question. You tell me, Nina, in the questions box, where can you see documents before you import them from Blend into Encompass? What screen? You tell me. What screen in Blend can we see documents to determine if we want to import those documents here in Encompass for these steps? You got it. In the doc screen. These are the steps to import documents. You decide when you get to this step which documents to import. And where can you see them? In the doc screen of Blend. Sound good? You're good, Nina. You got it, sister. So what does this look like? So if I'm in an Encompass loan file, I can go to the E folder, and then if this loan is linked to Blend, notice I see a Blend icon up here. I call it my little Blend buddy. And it's even telling me, sister, you have 4, I'm sister in this scenario, you have 4 documents to import. So I go up here, and do I have to import them? No, I choose what to import and what not to import. And I can always come back here and import them later if I choose. And then I hit Import Attachment. Awesome. So before we change pace and we go the other direction, everything we've talked about now is Blend to Encompass. The borrower starting the loan in Blend, and then how we link it from Blend into Encompass, either because the borrower submits or because we export. So we're about to change direction. We're about to go from east to west to east, and talk about us starting at Encompass and linking it to Blend, going in the opposite direction. Before we do that, you guys tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your comfort level for exporting the loan in the scenarios where the borrower doesn't submit, for accessing that loan in Encompass, and for importing documents into Encompass? You tell me, what's your current comfort level with that stuff? Awesome. Okay, cool. It looks like we're pretty comfortable with it, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. So what happens if we start the app in Encompass, and now we need to link it to Blend? So say we're doing a phone app, or maybe the bar is in person. So will we know how to start a file in Encompass? That's staying the same. What's changing is that now we're going to want to link it to Blend. So how do we do that? Well, these are the steps to do so. Do you need to memorize these? Do you need to write all this down real quick? Hurry, hurry, run. Kidding. No, just know we're going over it this first time together, and these steps and the corresponding images that we're about to show you are all in the Blend workbook. So if we started the app in Encompass, we go into that app in Encompass, we go to Services, we go to Order Additional Services. That's all familiar to us, isn't it? What's changing is that now we're going to select Blend. And of course, the first time you use it, you find it under All Providers. So what's changing is that now we're going to select Blend. And we're going to hit Submit. And we're always going to select Start a Post-Submission Loan. That's because we have the top-of-the-line version of Blend. We have Premium Blend. So we just always need to checkmark this guy. That's the only thing we ever need to checkmark in here. And we hit Submit. And then it will say, alrighty, this loan is linked to Blend. If you try to link it to Blend a second time, it'll just show you this screen and be like, hey, this is already linked to Blend. What are you doing? And it won't let you do it a second time. Smart enough to protect you from that. So that's how you link an Encompass application to Blend. Is there any Blend app when we're doing this? Prior to linking Encompass to Blend, is there any Blend app? Is there any Ghost Blend application that we're trying to connect this to? No. When we linked it from Blend to Encompass, it created the Encompass app. The same thing is true in the opposite direction. When we link it from Encompass to Blend, it creates the Blend app for us. So whenever you link, it'll create the app in the other software. You never have to try to create some Ghost Blend app or some Ghost Encompass app. When you link it from Blend into Encompass, it creates the Encompass app. When you link it from Encompass to Blend, it creates the Blend app. We had a question come in. Why would we want to export it from Encompass to Blend? You guys tell me. Why would we need to link an Encompass application to Blend? What do you think? Let's answer this question together. Exactly, because we still want to use Blend for documents. We still want to use Blend for all of our follow-ups, whether it's a one-off follow-up or whether it's disclosure. So if we took a phone app in Blend, or excuse me, we took a phone app and put it in Encompass, we met a borrower in person and started the file in Encompass, we'd still want to link that Encompass app to Blend, so that way we can use Blend for all of our follow-ups to manage all of our documents with the borrower. Great question and great answers, guys. So when you link it from Encompass to Blend, it results in three things. Number one, it creates the Blend app for you. Number two, it immediately and simultaneously links the Encompass app and the Blend app. What's the third thing that happens? You guys tell me. What's the third thing that happens when we link from Blend into Encompass, or excuse me, Encompass to Blend? Who gets an email? Who on our loan file needs to create a Blend account still? When we start the file in Encompass and link it to Blend, who still needs to create their Encompass application, or excuse me, their Blend application? Yep, the borrower. So when you link it from Encompass to Blend, that immediately and simultaneously does all three of these things. Creates the Blend app, links the Blend app, and sends the borrower an email saying, hey, create your Blend account. What happens when a borrower creates their Blend account? What does a borrower do when they create their Blend account? They provide their e-consent. You got it. So now, how are we obtaining e-consent? What's the operational impact of this? Are we ever going to go into the e-folder and hit e-consent? No way. Bye, e-consent, Leisha. See you later, sister. Now we either have e-consent because the borrower applied online, so we got it from the very beginning, before we even saw the loan in Encompass. Or if we started the loan in Encompass, when we link it to Blend, it'll send the borrower an email for them to create their account, and they'll provide e-consent when they do so. So these are the 4 fields that you need to link an Encompass application to Blend. First name, last name, social, email. Pretty straightforward. We need the email because we need to send the borrower an email. Do you want to send, if you're starting the file in Encompass, do you want to link it to Blend early or later? Probably really early, so that way we can get e-consent ASAP, but we're not worried about it when it's time for disclosure. All righty, so now we're going to talk about follow-up. So these are the steps to create follow-ups, and we can see whether we linked it from Blend to Encompass or Encompass to Blend, whether we started it or whether the borrower started it. Either way, we arrive where Blend and Encompass are linked, and we're creating follow-ups. So to create follow-ups, we go to the follow-up screen. I guess that's pretty straightforward. We go to Add. We're going to click Start New List. Then we can search for the follow-up. We can choose categories, scroll up and down, type it like Google, find the follow-up there. I just have one follow-up here. Can you have multiple? Of course you can. You can add in as many follow-ups as you want using the Add button. And then we're choosing the type of follow-up. Document upload, what's an example of that? Maybe a pay stub, W-2. Document review, what's an example of that? Maybe a commitment letter, or appraisal. Document signature, what's an example of that? Maybe an LOX, the corrected 4506T. We're asking the borrower to upload or sign something, or excuse me, to review or sign something. We need to upload what we're asking them to review or sign. And here's a generic message that auto-populates when we select a follow-up. You don't have to type this in. But can we customize this message? What do you think? You tell me in the questions box. Can we customize this message to the borrower that auto-populates? You got it. You customize the messages to the borrower. Question, when we're sending the appraisal, is there some sort of confirmation that we sent it? Where can we see all of the activities that have occurred in Blend? In the activity screen. And where can we see the email that goes to the borrower? We can see it in the COM screen. And then we're going to hit Review Request. And we're going to see our generic email that goes to the borrower. Can we edit this email? You bet we can. And then we can hit Send Request, and we'll see a copy of this email where? In the COM screen. So, just a couple of reminders. Before you create any manual follow-up, review automatic follow-up. So in the scenario where a borrower applied online, that's the scenario where you may have automatic follow-up. So just review those so you don't create a duplicate manual follow-up. And if you want to replace an automatic follow-up with a manual follow-up, just delete it. You can add, delete, modify, whatever you want to do to a follow-up, you can do. So just make sure that what you're asking from the borrower is sensible, that you're reviewing your follow-ups. Okay, cool. So let's create one ourselves. So if I'm in my LO account, right? So I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to in my follow-up screen. What do I click next? Maybe Add. Then what do I click next? Start New List. And then what is the follow-up you guys want me to search for? You tell me. What's the follow-up you want me to search for? You tell me. I'm going to type in bank statements, and I'm going to see it says asset statements. What else do you want me to guys? What else do you guys want me to look for? Payment history. So that one's maybe not in there. Payment history for what? All right. So maybe I would have custom, and I could type that in, custom document, and I could name that. Child support. What else is another one? Maybe I'm asking for bank statements, and that's how I would verify a 12-month payment history by someone else. And I think we just showed that there's custom, isn't there? Custom documents. Bankruptcy. So there's bankruptcy discharge notice and bankruptcy filing. What's something else you want me to look for? Maybe automatic payment authorization, all kinds of different ones. Lease agreement. So rental or lease agreement. Gotcha. Okay. Yep. So there we go. Jen, I think we're going to answer that question for you a little bit later on too. If not, contact me after training and I'll make sure you get an answer. So rental or lease agreement, is that which type of follow-up is that? Well, that's document upload. Bankruptcy discharge notice, which kind of follow-up is that? That's document upload, something we're asking the borrower to upload. Child support income verification, we're going to ask the borrower to upload something. Can I change these statements? Of course, or this message to the borrower? Of course I can. What about custom document? I could change the name of the custom document. I could put in a custom message to the document, and I could say what kind of follow-up I want it to be. So you have total control. Asset statements. Maybe my borrower didn't apply online, so they didn't get prompted to link their account. Or maybe they did, but they declined to do so, and now they want to. So I could just check mark connect accounts, and that would send them the option to automatically link their account. Let's see if we have any questions. What if a customer uploads the wrong thing? Well, then you just send it back to them. What did we say earlier? You have total control over your follow-ups within the loan. So if borrower does not satisfy your follow-up, what would you do in a scenario where it's on your email and the borrower sent you something? Wouldn't you just say, hey, this isn't what I need. Send me something else. You would do the same thing. You would send that follow-up back to the borrower, or you would delete the follow-up and create a new one and say, hey, this isn't what I asked for. And can we ask the borrower to wet sign documents? Absolutely. The instructions in regard to wet signing options are within your Blend workbook. So look up wet signing in Blend workbook. What about a letter of explanation? Let's add that one in. Letter of explanation. We see that there's lots of different ones available to us. I'm just going to pick a general one. And I'm going to say I want to set it up for signature. And then I'm going to click upload. Hopefully I don't have anything embarrassing on here. Okay, good. Okay, good. And we're going to pick, I'm just going to pick some random document in here. And then see how it says set up for e-signature? And then, Carmen, why don't we get together after training, and we'll be able to answer a couple of these questions for you. Sound good? So send me an email, and we're going to get together after training, and I'm going to be able to answer some of these deeper dive questions for you. Sound good? So now I have signature. I can drag and drop, just like Bob Ross painting on a canvas. We're just moving over our happy little signatures, aren't we? I can even move a text box over here for an LOX and create that within here. So Carmen, you're going to email me, sister. You're going to email me after training, and then I'll get with you and answer your deep dive questions, okay? Once I set this up for signature, I'm going to hit send. That just means that this is DocuSign inside of Blend, and now it says set up for e-signature. I can even customize my message here. I hit review request. I see my generic email with all of my follow-ups listed. I'll hit send request, and then I'd be able to see that under the COM screen. Cool. I'm not going to actually send it, but that's what I wanted to show you guys. And then I would see these here. Can I mark as complete, delete? Absolutely. I can delete them. I can add new ones. And I can see all the documents that they upload for those in my doc screen. And I already know how to import them, don't I? So what does it look like for your borrowers? So they just got an email saying that they need X, Y, and Z. So they log into Blend, right? They log in, they go to their tasks, and then they see all automatic and manual follow-ups in here. Any follow-up that's open, they see in here. They hit start this section, and they see the name of the follow-up, the custom message. They see their action, upload, sign, review, whatever you're asking them to do, and they satisfy it and move on. You don't like it, you send it back to them. You want something different, you add some, you delete one and add one new. You have total control over your follow-ups. And when the borrower satisfies it, then you import it into Encompass. And we already know how to do that, don't we? Can you control what the borrower sees in regard to the message here? Can you control this? You tell me. Yep. And are you still going to, if your borrower's still confused, are you going to contact them? Yeah, you sure are. Is this replacing your job? No way. This is a tool to help facilitate your job. So you're still a loan officer, you're still an assistant, you're still a processor, you're still the mortgage expert. So you're leveraging this tool to determine, in order to make your job more efficient and easier for you and especially for the borrower. But we still need your knowledge. We still need your customer service. That's what's not changing. What's changing is the technology that enhances the borrower's experience. Hopefully it makes things a little easier for you too. Okay, cool. So we're going to knock this out. We're almost done, so we're going to knock that out. We already took a break earlier, so we're going to just finish this up and we'll be done. So now we're going to talk about special kinds of follow-ups. We're going to talk about disclosures. Initial, revised, closing disclosures, we're going to send those out. Instead of going in and creating a follow-up for them, so you don't want to apply a DocuSign signature to every page of the disclosure package. Oh my gosh. So instead, we're going to talk about how we can send disclosures directly from Encompass and still see it as a follow-up in Blend and have the borrower see it in Blend. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to talk about confirming receipt of e-consent, because what's not changing is that we need e-consent before we send disclosures. How to send disclosures and how to apply the yellow signature. So confirming receipt of e-consent, how can we check and see if we have e-consent before we send disclosures? So we know how we receive e-consent is changing. Either the borrower applies online and provides it at the very beginning, or we link it from Encompass to Blend, hopefully early on. The borrower gets an email to create their Blend account, and they provide e-consent when they do so. But how do we confirm that those things have happened? Well, you guys tell me, these are the steps to do so. Do you need to write these down? Do you need to memorize these? No way. These are in your Blend workbook. But you guys tell me, you people on the line that are familiar with e-consent, you tell me, what's different about confirming receipt of e-consent? Is anything different yet? Is anything different yet? No. Even if I open this little guy, I still see it right here. The only thing that's going to be different is that now my source is going to say Blend. This view form won't be functional, that's for Ellie Mae, but you'll still see the e-consent authorization, the document for it, in the Encompass e-folder. So this is the only guy that's different. So we're talking about what's staying the same, what's different? Well, luckily that's staying the same, pretty straightforward. Just a few reminders. You still must have e-consent before you send out disclosures. It will be received when the borrower creates their Blend account for that initial transaction, and it's viewable in the Encompass e-folder. So that's staying the same mostly, right? 99% the same, isn't it? So now, here are the steps to send disclosures to the borrower. You guys tell me. When you see something different, you tell me. We're logging into Encompass. We're going into the Encompass loan file. We're hitting e-folder. Anything different yet? We're going to e-disclosures. We're selecting the borrower pair, because remember, we always do disclose for every borrower pair. We're selecting the plan code. We're hitting order e-disclosures. Anything different yet? No. Now we see something different. What's different? What's different in here? You tell me in the questions box. For those of us familiar with this screen, what's different? You got it. Now I see a blend send button. My Ellie Mae send button is grayed out because this loan is linked to blend. So I see a blend send button. They even made it rhyme so you can remember. And I would click that. Can I still print documents if someone wants to wet sign? Well, I see a print button, so I sure can I? But if I want to send these electronically, I'd click my blend send button, and it will send them to the borrower. Sound good? Awesome. And then it will say disclosures have been sent via blend. Question, if your borrowers have open follow-ups, will blend remind them they have open follow-ups, including disclosures? Yes. Blend notifies the borrower every other day for 14 days if they have open follow-ups. So if your borrowers have an open follow-up, including disclosures, they're going to be notified every other day for 14 days. How do you stop them from getting emails? Well, you stop what's triggering the emails. What's triggering the email? An open follow-up. How do you make the follow-up not be open anymore? Either you go in and you delete it, or you mark it as complete. That means there's not an open follow-up. That means there's not an email that's triggered by the open follow-up. Good question. So this is how we can send disclosures to the borrowers. And just a reminder, as always, we need to send disclosures for every borrower pair. That's not changing. So we can see that e-consent and sending disclosures are pretty much the same. What about applying the LO signature? That's what there's going to be a big difference. So those first two parts are 99% the same. This third part, applying the LO signature, that's where there's going to be a big change. No longer are we going into Loan Center to sign our disclosure package. Now we're logging into Blend to sign the disclosure package as the LO. So we go to follow-ups, and this is the one and only time an LO is going to have a follow-up for themselves. They're going to click Sign Disclosures, and then their signing experience is going to be exactly the same as the borrower's signing experience. Plus or minus about 80 pages, right? So the LO is going to go in to Blend, and they're going to sign it. Can we receive a disclosure package prior to every party signing? What do you think? Can you get a disclosure package into Blend, or excuse me, from Blend into Encompass before every party signs? Nope. Every person needs to sign that disclosure package before you can get it into Encompass. That means all the LOs, that means all the borrowers and the LO. So specific, Katie. So we had a question come in. Is LO getting an email reminder to sign disclosures? Yep. They'll be notified when disclosures go out, so then they know to go into that loan and sign where they need to on the disclosure package. And when you activate your Blend account, in 1 to 2 days, the Apply Now signature will be updated, and then you can start using Blend going forward. Yep, you got it. Good question. Okay, cool. So before we wrap up, let's talk about some cool key features, right? So we're going to talk about Copilot and the phone app. So I have a question for you guys. Have you ever had a borrower call you and say, hey, I'm on this screen and I'm stuck and I don't know what to do, et cetera, and you have no idea what they're talking about? Have any of us experienced that before? Someone put always. I don't know why I think that's so funny. Okay, so we probably all experienced that at some point. Do you ever wish you could see the borrower's screen? Do you wish that Blend could show you the borrower's screen? Well, call me a genie because your wish has been granted. So if you're in a Blend loan file as a branch employee, so as you can see, there's a lot of them in here. So I'm in a Blend loan file. So I can go in to an application and I can click Copilot. We see that here, Copilot. So my screen is going to stay open right up here. My screen is going to stay open, but when I click Copilot, a new tab opens. Do we see that? And then I see the borrower portal. I see exactly what the borrower sees. So wherever the borrower is at is where I'm at. And they can enter info, and I can enter info. They can go from screen to screen. I can go from screen to screen. They can enter info. I can enter info. They can go screen to screen. I can go screen to screen. If I go to another screen, it will refresh the borrower screen. If they go to another screen, then my screen will refresh. I think I just answered your question, Joe. Did we answer your question? If I go from screen to screen, then they will see whatever screen I'm on. If they go screen to screen, then I can see whatever screen they're on. They can enter info, and I can enter info. And when I'm done, I'm like, all right, I'm done with you. I'm going to just click out of this, and I'll still have my original tab open in my Blend branch portal. So LOs can use this to help their borrowers navigate through the application phase. Question, can processors use this to help their borrowers navigate through the documents phase? You bet. Maybe the application has already been submitted or exported, or maybe they never experienced the application phase because it was started in Compass and linked to Blend. I can still use Copilot and navigate my borrowers through the documents phase, through these follow-ups. Sound good? And then, so Copilot, so you can see the borrower screen in Blend in real time if they're logged into Blend. Both the borrower and branch can enter data, and we can navigate through the screens with the borrower. So we just did our live demo. Now, before we move on to the phone app, you guys tell me, 1 to 10, how do we feel about our comfort level using the Copilot? What's your comfort level using Copilot? Go in and do alone, click on that Copilot button. Have it open a new tab for you. Feeling pretty good? All righty. What about a phone app? So do borrowers need to download a phone app? No, borrowers do not need to download a phone app. We don't put any extra work on our borrowers. However, when we log in as branch employees, what do we see? A big old horizontal pipeline screen. Is that going to look funky on your iPhone? You bet. So Blend has offered a phone app, and all it does is just reformat Blend so you can see it easier on your phone. It just makes Blend phone friendly, right? It just takes Blend and reformats it so it's not so horizontal-y, if that's a word. Just reformats it so it's easy to read on your phone. So borrowers will access Blend through Chrome or Safari or whatever they use on their phone. We can access it on our phone, but we'd probably prefer to download a phone app and see it in a phone-friendly version. So you can just search Blend Labs, and then you can see the Blend Labs Loan Officer, and you would just download that to your phone. And you'd log in just like you'd log in on your desktop. So it says Blend Loan Officer, but really it's for any Blend branch employee can download this app and then see Blend on their phone. We had a question come in. Can the client use the app? I think we just answered that too, so it might have been answering it as you type that question in. No, the client can still use Blend on their phone, but they don't have the extra work of downloading an app to do so. They can just open up their Chrome or Safari or whatever web browser they use and log into Blend. But us on the branch side, it's going to look funky because we have a big old horizontal pipeline screen when we log in. If you download the Blend app, it'll just take your pipeline screen and make it vertical so it looks pretty on your phone. Cool. So let's talk about some gotchas before we end today. So if a borrower or branch employee does not log into their account for 30 days, their account will be locked and they're going to need to redo their phone code. It won't be an issue for us, because we're going to be in Blend all the time, aren't we? But for your borrowers, especially like construction borrowers, if they don't log in for 30 days, they're just going to do the phone code again. No big deal. Blend notifies DLO when the borrower starts their application and when the borrower submits their application. So right now you only get notified when they submit. In the future, you'll get notified when they start and when they submit. If a loan is started in Encompass and we're going to link it to Blend as a post-submission loan, that's the only choice we ever need to pick. And again, that's in your Blend workbook. When it comes over from Blend to Encompass, either because the borrower submitted or because we exported, just double check and make sure all the fields came over correctly. If you ever notice anything different or anything wonky, you just let Ryan know and just let me know and we'll get it fixed. I say that in every training. No one has ever told me that it didn't come over okay. The application is accessible in Encompass when, you guys tell me. Number one, the borrower submits, or number two, the branch exports, or what's the third one? What's the third way we can access the application in Encompass? Or if we started the application in Encompass. And once an application is accessible in Encompass, the borrower can no longer edit data. So if the borrower submits, or if we export, or if we started it in Encompass, the borrower won't experience the application phase. They'll just experience the documentation phase, the follow-up phase. And that makes sense, right? All of our information changes will be made in Encompass. Documents can be uploaded by the borrower and subsequently imported by the branch through the life of the loan. So at the whole life of the loan, we might be asking borrowers for docs. We might be asking when we first get the app, when it goes TBD to Real Deal, or when we have a conditional approval from underwriting, or even when we're sending out a closing disclosure. So we can always ask the borrower for documents. We can always create follow-up, and therefore we can always import documents from Blend into Encompass. We had a question come in. When you do an app in Encompass, does the e-consent still come from Blend? So you tell me. When you link an Encompass application to Blend, does the borrower get a Blend invite? And when the borrower uses that Blend invite to create their Blend account, do they provide e-consent? You tell me. So I think we just answered your question. Yes and yes. Awesome. So for one-off documents, place the e-certificate from Blend in the same document placeholder, bold, as the corresponding e-signed document. So when we send out an LOX, what do we get back? An e-signed LOX and the e-cert saying it was e-signed. When we send out a 4506T, what do we get back? An e-signed 4506T and an e-cert saying this 4506T was e-signed. We're going to take both those documents, put them in the same document placeholder. Makes sense, right? That's the easy part. I have a question for you guys. When you send out an initial disclosure package, do you get 80 e-certs back, one for every doc? I sure hope not. Oh my gosh. You get one e-cert that lists 80 documents, or that lists 80 documents. So it's everything that was signed in that initial disclosure package, don't you? So where does that e-cert go that lists everything that was signed electronically in the initial disclosure package? Where does that one go? That one's going to go in the 4506T document placeholder. Why the 4506T document placeholder? You tell me. Why is the e-cert for the initial disclosure package going in the 4506T document placeholder? You got it. Because when we order tax transcripts, what do we need? Number one, 4506T, and number two, the e-cert saying it was e-signed. So we're going to place, if it's a one-off document, we just take whatever the one-off document was in the e-cert, put it in the same document placeholder. But if it's the initial disclosure 450 initial disclosure package, we're going to take that e-cert for the initial disclosure package and put it in the 4506T document placeholder. That way, when we go to order tax transcripts, we're going to select Encompass e-folder, specifically the 4506T e-folder, and order transcripts. So we're no longer going to be selecting the e-sign vault. That's going to be an operational impact to us, isn't it? It's going to be a change. Are the instructions for ordering tax transcripts with an e-cert or with a 4506T that was e-signed and blend? Are those instructions in your blend workbook? You bet they are. Okay, cool. So where can you go for additional support? So you have your level 100 understanding. Where can we go if we want to reinforce our understanding, increase our understanding, or if we have questions? Well, there's 3 different avenues for you. So you have your blend workbook, you've sat through this training, where else can you go? Well, it's over the top places of questions. So we can go to Walk Me for Blend. So what is Walk Me for Blend? Well, Walk Me is its own software. We might have seen it down here. And so Walk Me is its own software. We just deployed it with Blend. You're going to see it all over the place. And so the first place we can see it is Walk Me through here, and then we can choose what we want to use. So if I'm in here, what do I want to check out? Maybe set up a loan team, set up your credit preferences. What do I want to say? Add a loan team member, how to sign initial disclosures as an LO. It has all these different options for me. Maybe I want to create a follow-up template. And so do we see how it opened up this little bubble here? And it's telling me click on your settings. So I click on your settings. Then a new bubble appears. Click on accounts. So I click on accounts. And then a new bubble appears. It says choose follow-up template. And I just follow it through there. And it will literally walk me through how to do that. Another place I can go is the Blend Help Center. So where do I go to click on the Blend Help Center? I go right up here to Help Center. So Walk Me is down here. Blend Help Center is right here. Walk Me is CCM specific. Blend Help Center is not CCM specific. It's not even Encompass specific. But it is directly from the mouth of Blend. And we can just search for whatever we're looking for in here. Sound good? So we have our Blend workbook. We have Walk Me for Blend. We have the Blend Help Center. And where can you go if you still have questions? You can go to Loan Support, who are trained on Blend and can assist you. They need to escalate something up, they can. Alrighty, so we went through how we can log in, how we can get set up and running, and we went through our process map, focusing on how a borrower can start a loan in Blend and link it to Encompass, and how we can start Encompass loan and link it to Blend. We talked about creating follow-ups and receiving documents back and how we can import those. And we talked about sending disclosures, specifically e-consent and sending disclosures, which is mostly staying the same. And the LO signing the disclosure package, they're no longer going to go to Ellie Mae Loan Center. They're going to go to Blend and sign the disclosure package there. We mentioned some gotchas, and we introduced your additional support resources.